Now, how often you should clean your EGR cooler? I would recommend every 80,000 miles. And depending on how much idle time do you have. If you check your cluster, if you go through the settings, through the vehicle information, with the arrows up or down, you will see your idle time and drive time. So the idle time is gonna be way less than your drive time. Okay, if you're getting close to your drive time, then you're putting way too much idle time on this engine and you asking for big troubles. You might be doing EGR cooler cleaning every 10-20,000 miles. And that gets quite expensive with all those gaskets and labor time. So remember, your idle time is gonna be way less than your drive time. I would say 3 times less at least. And also depends on your what kind of diesel fuel you're using. If you're using more than 10% of biodiesel, you're gonna have to do the cooler more often. Okay? Anything over 10% of biodiesel produces more soot. Okay? And soot is not a big friend of these newer diesel engines with all those after treatment devices built into the exhaust, and the EGR cooler and the intake manifold, the heater grid. I had a few vehicles with no power and no check engine light, and after I removed the intake manifold, these bolts, I could see the heater grid completely blocked off with soot. The plan is take the EGR cooler out and inspect it, clean it. If everything's good, we're gonna clean it and put it back in, replace the gaskets. So first thing you gotta do is remove the airbox, remove the intake tube for the turbo, remove that plastic cover that's up here. Then we remove this pipe from the EGR to the cooler, or from cooler to the EGR. There's a hidden bolt that holds the pipe down here. That one is a little hard to get to, so you're gonna need a 1/4 inch swivel 8mm. Then we're gonna take the CCV cover off. We'll take this actuator assembly off for the bypass. Almost forgot about this little cover. You got a 10mm nut here. And we got 2 8mm bolts on the bottom here. There's one bolt. In the back is another bolt. I use this wrench. Get a little better light. Here you can see it. You need a little stubby wrench, 15mm. You put it in there like so. Then you get a pry bar, and you put the pry bar on the tip of the wrench, and that's how you lose the nut. Okay, that's the easiest way for me. forget about taking these bolts off, because you're just gonna break something. So you're gonna take the whole thing as assembly. Then we got one bolt here, one bolt here. Those are 10 millimeter. And 2 bolts over here. Okay. This whole thing, this and this, will come as one piece. Don't try take the spring off. We're gonna take this clamp. It's an 11 millimeter deep socket. That's how it comes off. The whole unit. The inside is not too bad, at least the outlet side. But yeah, we're gonna take the cooler out completely and see the inlet side if it's blocked up. You can check out my other video on replacing CCV filter. Right now I'm just gonna take the filter off. And we're taking the cover off so we can get to this water pipe. So 10 millimeter bolt there. Make sure you drain the antifreeze, otherwise you're gonna have coolant leaking everywhere, like this. And I actually drained the antifreeze, so you're gonna have some coolant leaking anyway. So just be prepared for that. Now we got 3 more bolts, one here, and one there. This one we took out previously. The 2 rear flange bolts in the back there. See if I can see it. It's kind of hard to see it. 15 millimeter bolts. And this is what I'm using. So deep, long 15, or you can have a short one with a medium extension. I got a short extension and a deep socket. And these usually are not too bad. If they are, then too bad. There's nothing else you can do. This is the only way. I can see myself putting a torch in there. Be careful not to drop the nut in there, because those are special nuts that won't rust as much. Some kind of stainless steel or something. We gotta lift it from the back so we can get this pipe out of this water pipe, okay? We don't have to move this at all. We can just lift it up in the back, slide it backwards to clear this pipe, and then it's gonna come off. So I just help getting from the studs a little bit. Now it should lift up. The other side. There we go. Those are the two flange bolts I was talking about, the 15mm. Now we'll see how bad it is. And as you can see, this EGR cooler is actually really clean. Now we're gonna give the EGR cooler a bath. We're gonna be using the proper stuff, EGR cooler cleaner. I dilute it with water, 50-50. So I got 1 quart, half a quart of this cleaning solution, half a quart of water. I'll just dump that stuff in there. And we'll let it sit for at least a half an hour. This one is not too dirty. I didn't see excessive restriction or soot accumulation, so half an hour will be enough. If you see a lot of soot build up, you won't see no fins in the front, then you want to soak it for even overnight. Then I cover it with like a rubber band or rubber glove. Same thing on the other side. And I'll shake it a little bit so that the fluid gets everywhere. And don't forget to get some O-rings. We'll replace the O-rings. There's one here. Another one over here. So I'm gonna replace both O-rings. Now this stuff kind of smells like a dish soap or some heavy duty detergent for bathrooms or whatever. So you guys can try whatever you like, but Customer pays a lot of money for this cleaning, so I'm using the proper solution, which I know works really well. Ready to put it back in. This is a steel gasket, so you just inspect it, you don't have to replace it. I usually put anti-seize on the studs, especially on the exhaust. Same thing in the back. I got a new gasket in there. Replace the O-ring. Put a little bit of dielectric grease for easier installation. Same thing over here. It's ready to go back in. Now make sure you replace this Teflon gasket that goes here. This one. It's kind of hard to put in, but with a little screwdriver, you gotta push the tab in without destroying the gasket, so it stays in position. Now you don't have to replace this gasket because that's a steel gasket. Just kind of inspect it. Now to make it easy on yourself, this clamp, the first one from the EGR cooler, should be pointing down, so you can put your socket over here and tight it, loose it that way. This clamp over here should be facing up, really close to the shield, so that later on you have a clearance to put a plastic cover. Last clamp just facing down.